October 7th brought this change, but it's very different. We're now proud of our soldiers. We're proud of our Air Force. We're proud of the Jewish people who are going through this. I don't care if they're religious, secular, Haredi, Ashkenazi, Sephardi. They're all going through it, and there's a real meaning and purpose for it.
Welcome to Rebbi, I Have a Question, a podcast from Chappelle's and Midreshet Rachel V'Chaya. I'm your host, Donna Margolis, and in each episode, I sit down with Rabbi Shurin to explore one question sent in by a student or an alumna. Questions about family, relationships, identity, and the lifelong journey of becoming a Torah Jew. With over 4 decades of guiding students, Rabbi Shurin brings Torah wisdom from our sages, life experience, and the teachings of his grandfather, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Zatzal, to some of the most sensitive and personal issues we face. You may be surprised by what you hear. Let's begin. Hi, Rabbi Shurin.
Hi, how's it going? I also have the Rebbetzin next to me.
Hello.
I was just going to let our listeners know that we have actually a very special episode this time because Rebbetzin Esther has joined us as well. Hi, Esther.
Hello, how we doing?
Okay, many of our listeners might remember that soon after October 7th, we did a Zoom call with both Rabbi and Rebbetzin Shurin, and it was very, very helpful to our alumni community. Many people derived a lot of Chizuk from that and just were extremely grateful for the opportunity to be on Zoom with both of you. So what we wanted to do today is to bring the Rebbetzin back. We're unfortunately finding ourselves again at a time of war here in Israel. Many of our students and also our alumni here in Israel are living through a reality that is changing day by day. We're getting woken up by sirens in the middle of the night. Kids are waking up frightened. Families are hanging out in their safe rooms, or if they are lucky enough to have them, and other people have to run to shelters, public shelters sometimes. And kids are out of school here in Israel. Some people have actually, some of my friends have moved out of their homes because they don't have a safe room in their homes. And we've also heard from alumni that are struggling to juggle their work situations with kids being home. And it's just really, really tough for a lot of us here. So, I guess I want to say also that we have many alumni that are not in Israel that have been reaching out to us very often with, checking in on us, wanting to know how they can be supportive to their friends and family that are in Israel, what they can be doing from afar, and honestly are struggling because they feel disconnected from what's going on here. So today's episode is very different than what we've been doing, but hopefully will be very helpful to our listeners both here in Israel and outside of Israel. And so I wanted to ask you both a few questions to help bring some perspective and to give chizuk during this very challenging time.
Go for it.
Okay, so thank you both for joining me. So here's the first question. I think I'll direct this to you, Rabbi.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so when people are living through these events that feel very frightening and uncertain, I think it is helpful to get some big picture perspective. So maybe you could give us, like from a spiritual perspective, even politically, historically, how are you personally thinking about the times that we're living in right now? And what broader perspective might help people find a little bit of comfort and even some hope?
Okay, great. I think that's an extremely important question. I really have a lot to say about it, so I'm sort of going to divide it a little bit here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Jewish people today and the families today, because, a lot of the families have, like you said, been, writing us and, want to have some chizuk, the people who are, have these little kids and they're sending them to the safe rooms or to the mamadim or the miklatim. Um, so I want to give something on a little bit of a macro level, okay, and sort of remind people of sometimes during times of trials and tribulations where people are being challenged, they forget about the bigger picture. Okay, so I just want to start maybe with a short, maybe even story about myself and Rabbi Yaakov.
Mm.
I called Rabbi Yaakov when I got the position at Chappelle's. And I asked Rabbi Yaakov if he thinks I should stay in Israel, because that wasn't necessarily the plan at that time, or we should come back to America, and not I shouldn't really either take that job and he cut me off in the middle and he said, Yitzchak, I want you to know that obviously you have a schus to live in Eretz Yisrael if you got a job. And that should not be taken lightly. Not everybody has the schus that you have. Okay. And, I'm not going to go into now why I think I had the schus and stuff like this. But the point is, I want all, our families in Eretz Yisrael to know and not take for granted that they're living here in Eretz Yisrael. It's a tremendous schus to live here in the country. It's tremendous merit.
Moshe
Okay.
Rabbeinu didn't make
Right,
it.
right. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't make it. Many people. Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, when he came to Eretz Yisrael, he said he was on a boat and it was moving towards Eretz Yisrael. It was like 50 or 60 miles away, and he kept saying, "I'm now being zocheh to something that Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, they weren't zocheh to, and I'm being zocheh to it." And he was mamish crying when he was saying it, right? So, we shouldn't be taken for granted. Reb Zeir in the Gemara says that he had a hard time getting over one of the rivers to get to Eretz Yisrael, and he tried to figure out how he's going to get over. And someone said to him, like, "What are you trying to?" He says, "I'm going to be zocha to something that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't zocha, right? I really have to move." So they have to remember that on the one hand. And on the other hand, both it's still on a macro level, they have to know that the kids that they're dealing with right now that aren't in school, or the kids that even more so, more serious, are in the army right now, and there's so many parents here that are dealing with that. They have to realize, right? And again, I think they know it, but when you think about my son in the army, sometimes you could forget about the bigger picture, right? Or you might see my kids are home from school and they're driving me nuts. I forget about the bigger picture. But you have to realize that the kids that grow up here grow up with a tremendous amount of pride and purpose. Okay. They're not like the religious kids who grow up in America that their purpose is, you're a religious Jew and you're learning Torah. Here we have that as well. No question about it. All the kids, eventually, when they grow up in more Haredi families, go to all the yeshivas here. And even the non-Haredi families send their kids to, the Shalavims and the Gush and the Karen Biavnas and so on and so forth. You always have to remember that the kids feel pride. They may be scared, but they feel that pride and they feel how meaningful their lives are here because we are in the forefront of a war against the Jews.
I have to just put in one word here. They do these incredible surveys. They find that Israelis are like some of the happiest people in the world. Now, how does that even make sense? Israelis have it rough, but Israelis are very happy people, which is so
Right.
interesting.
And the age of the soldiers, right, within that age, they're even happier than the kids and the adults, okay, which is crazy. They're risking their lives every moment, okay? And when you ask them how happy you are, they're happy. And I want to add something over here that's a little bit political. The heads of the original heads of the army and the heads of the Shin Bet, I hate to say it, they were all cowards without any idealism. When they wanted to stop the fighting, the soldiers said, "We're not stopping." You remember that, huh? They said, "We're not stopping to fight." And the head of Shin Bet and the head of the army, Herzi Halevi, he wasn't on the battlefield. Okay, they were on the battlefield, and they were correct. And it's clear today that they were correct, right? And we'll talk more about this. But the point over here is the kids are going to be growing up with memories, not the memories you think are going to be like fear memories and stuff. No, it's going to be pride memories. My kids are so proud to be, and they went through a good few wars, my kids in Israel over the years. And they're so proud to be part of the Eretz Yisrael nation, the nation of Israelis that are, that you can't budge them. I go to a gym now and I see these guys working out. These Israelis working out who I would not want to meet in a dark alley. I'm telling you right now, right? They have so much courage and so much idealism. When you talk to them about what Israel is doing, they would not have it another way. You know why? Because we realize that it's an existential threat. Okay. And I don't care what Americans say, that it's not an existential threat or it's not happening. They said the same thing in the Holocaust. They didn't want anything to do with the Jews. They didn't even want to bomb the tracks. So I'm not going to take the opinions of the Bidens and the what's his the liberal people on the left, right? We're living in a time now.
It's not an imminent threat.
Not an
Why
imminent
is
threat.
American bomb? It's not an imminent threat.
Right.
They want to wait until the nuclear bomb is heading their way, and then they'll say it's an imminent threat.
So
then it will be way too late.
that it's extremely important that we'll talk more about maybe the political side of it, but that the kids, and I think the kids do know this, they're really proud of us because it's very different right now than October 7th. October 7th brought this change, but it's very different. We're now proud of our soldiers. We're proud of our Air Force. We're proud of the Jewish people who are going through this. I don't care if they're religious, secular, Haredi, Ashkenazi, Sephardi. They're all going through it, and there's a real meaning and purpose for it. And that's
Rabbi,
what brings happiness.
can I just add something to that?
Sure, go for
I
it.
just want to, maybe this is a little personal, but I think it's so connected to what you both are saying that I would like to share it with our listeners. My son, Ellie, has been in Lebanon since a few days after we started this new war. And thank God on Friday, they brought him back into Israel just for a few hours. And before he went back into Lebanon, it was Arab Shabbos. It was probably right about Shabbos was coming in. Um, and right before he went in, he sent the following message to our family. And I hope he wouldn't mind. I don't think he would, but I just want
Sure.
to share a brief piece of it because it exactly speaks to what you both are saying. So I'll just read you. He says, sending endless love to all of you. Very much appreciated everyone's messages and support. I won't be available now for a little while, but you all won't leave my mind and my heart for a minute. I'm surrounded by incredible people doing incredible work with high spirits and deep motivation and a true understanding for the meaning and importance of the task we were given. And none of us would choose to be anywhere other than where we are. Am
Wow.
Yisrael Chai v'Shabbat Shalom.
Unbelievable.
Right, so
That was worth the whole podcast.
telling you,
You know,
I'm telling
this
you.
is really the Am Yisrael Chai that came out of the darkness of October 7th, when it's like a Kadosh Baruch who slapped us so hard. They said, "Oh no." And there's so much connection, even people who are not religious, so much connection and so much understanding that a Kadosh Baruch is with us. And I always find some interesting insights in popular culture. And the song, right? Hashem Yisbarach, Hamid Ohevoti, Tamid Yeli, Rak Tov, Ojo Tetov, Ojo Tetov. This encapsulates the love people have for Kadosh Baruch Hu, the feeling of the Messianic times, and the understanding that it's all good, which is a crazy song, and it's a crazy mood, and it's there, and it permeates. I listen to these songs sometimes, and I'm like, wow, Israelis are like, they're just not like anybody else. They're not like anybody else.
I just want to add that as far as the bigger picture, even though it's a little bit tough for me to say this, but I'll say it anyway because I think it's true. We're fighting here radical Islam. We're fighting religious fanatics. And because it's a religious war and it's not a political war. Um, until Mashiach comes, we're going to be dealing with this. And we have to know that politically, when you have to deal with an enemy like this, you can't show any weakness. October 7th showed a tremendous amount of weakness. But I want to say, politically, I'm convinced that if not for the Holocaust, there would not be Medina Israel. Okay? We fought so much harder because we remembered those people who were killed in the Holocaust. And there were many people who fought, who got saved in the Holocaust, who fought side by side after coming to Israel just a few years before, a year or two before, right? I believe that without October 7th, we wouldn't be where we're here today. Okay. If we would have been ready for October 7th, we wouldn't have changed our ideology, which had to be changed years ago. Okay. After 1973, it should have changed. That we're no more responding, right? We're not the defense army, but the offense army, because we always say the best defense in football is the offense. When you're living in a rough neighborhood, you have to be tough. Okay? That's what you have to be.
You learned in Brooklyn.
I learned that in Brooklyn where I grew up, that you can't respond. You can't let them push you around. And Israel had been doing that for years. Before October 7th, they've been constantly firing rockets. We got all the way to one place where Hezbollah came onto our land. And they made a tent, and people were arguing whether we should get them off or not. How crazy. This is ludicrous. Okay? And Bibi Netanyahu said a tremendous vart. He said a tremendous vart. He said, we didn't change only the way we do things. We changed ourselves. He said a vart from Rishon Salanter without knowing it. Rishon Salanter said, if you want to change the world, you start off by changing yourself. That's what he said. I'm just going to tell the students, if they want to read an article that I hold, you shouldn't be reading. You should be learning it. Do Chazorah 5 times on it. The article is called How Israel Took Its Fate into Its Own Hands by Herb Kanan. Okay? It's unbelievable, this article. Everyone should, I don't know how to get a hold of it.
We could post it.
I have it in the Jerusalem Post, but you could, if someone could find it and send it out. The article says it all in in 3,000 words. It's just like unbelievable how he defines the times we're living in. And we're not talking, he doesn't mention a word about God in there, right? He's just talking about how the Israeli conception has changed, and we have to keep it that way. Okay? That's extremely important. The other thing that's very important is the diaspora. Okay? And before we talk about, I guess, Esther, you want to maybe respond on some practical ways how the parents can,
I don't know,
live their daily lives.
How are we doing going from
We'll get to that in a minute, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Get to that later? What?
Yeah, we can get to that
Let's go
later.
Okay, we'll get there later. Okay, so
Yes.
I think that what we're seeing over here is something that is unprecedented. Okay, the heads of the army, the heads of the Shin Bet, originally, the ones today are not like that anymore. Thank God. Didn't want us to attack. Didn't want us to respond to Lebanon, to Hezbollah. They were afraid of Syria joining, right? They were, of course, afraid of Iran. I saw one interview, I don't remember who it was, with an Israeli big official that said, do you think that we could take on Iran? You're going to try to destroy their atomic weapons? You think we could take on Iran? What did it turn out to be? Okay, it turned out to be, Bezrat Hashem, we didn't take on Iran. We knocked them off the charts in a couple of hours. Okay, and now we're destroying them little by little. Okay, because we have the ability to do this. We just have to have a certain, probably because God is with us. Of course, there's airplanes, there's fighter jets flying all the time, and Baruch Hashem,
we don't even
right. Baruch Hashem, they're successful without any you know,
You have to, we live with miracles and we see daily miracles and can never take that for granted. Like even the fact that Trump is really all in on this is a miracle, and who knows when he's going to stop. And Hashem is running the world. I think one of the first conclusion here is that you have to always remember that you're part of the really, really the times of Mashiach. You see in front of you miracles every day. Anyone who doesn't see it is completely blind. Rabbi Uri Pilchowski put together a wonderful 10, 12-minute presentation of all the miracles after October 7th. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely you must read and see that. I think he gave that over actually first time in a yeshiva. I think it might have even been Chappelle's. I don't know.
I think I
But
can try to put the link to maybe that article and also to that YouTube
that would
video
be
yeah,
in
great.
the
when you
show
listen to
notes.
him, he's like facts and figures and probabilities,
Mhm.
and you were just blown away because we don't even understand how many miracles we live with. We don't even understand it. And this is all we're living the Megillah. So people at the time of the Megillah, it wasn't like bang, it wasn't like immediately this all happened and boom, boom, boom. It was years. And people like Mordecai were paying attention to the things that were going on, and Esther being taken, and the Haman is the and he saw the bigger picture. But most people they didn't see open miracles and they didn't see the bigger picture. And I think when you live in Israel, you see the bigger picture. Sometimes I think it's harder for people in the diaspora to see that. And sometimes it's hard even when you're here to see that. And that's when you're going through this, it's really, really not easy. And
So maybe let's focus on
it's
that.
helpful to remember. It's helpful to remember that we're living in biblical times. Things that are happening here are just part. We're making history here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to go this way.
I want to add maybe a chazal that that becomes very real because of what's happening now with America and of course President Trump, which is unprecedented, and that's what you have to take note of. It's unprecedented in American history. Okay, when you have something unprecedented, you know there's a God factor there. There's no question about it. The norm is Biden, big talk, the famous don't.
Yeah.
All I have to say is don't.
Jimmy
Okay.
Carter calling us an apartheid state.
Yeah, I mean,
he empowered
the idea of don't was laughable. Okay. It was laughable by the Israelis who used to laugh at it. I mean, Eretz Nehederet had a whole thing on it, right? And it was laughable by the Arabs. And you always have to remember, if the Arabs think you're a coward, you're in trouble. Okay. They have to be the fear of heaven, literally and figuratively, fear of God has to be put into them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the Arabs are not understanding what's going on. They have big questions, right? In their religion, like what's going on here. This is not supposed to be happening, that Israel is taking one country down at a time, right? Syria is supposed to be an existential threat to Israel. That's what they were for years. And they're non-existent almost, okay? Lebanon, we're taking it piece by piece apart. We're taking Lebanon. They call America the big Satan. We call Iran the big Chaleria, right? We're taking them apart piece by piece, okay? They are the sponsor of all the terrorism in the Middle East, and they're being taken apart. We have what the Israelis call the Rosh HaNachash right now, okay? And this is clear to me. Our successes are clear, hashgacha, and secular heads of state have a hard time with this, but whether in America or Israel, but we don't have a hard time with it. We understand that these are very serious times that are not going to be easy. As the Navi always says, it's a birth. It's birth pangs. And birth pangs, you're going to be giving birth to a tremendous new child, but it's going to be painful. And this is what we're going through. And thank God we have great attitude towards it. And our kids have good attitudes, and our soldiers have great attitude. And that's what we really have to know. It says like this. Halacha, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says, it's a Rashi, Halachi b'yadua she'esav son Yaakov, Ela shenichmeru rachma boto shah v'noshku b'chol libo. Generally, the non-Jews hate us, but there's going to be some time that Esav is going to have mercy on us and kiss us with a full heart. Okay? That is President Trump. It's a full heart. He's behind us. There's hashgacha there, and we have to take advantage of that hashgacha. That's why we have to take advantage. Not, there's, those anti-Semites in America who are fighting Israel's war. You're not fighting Israel's war. You're getting tremendous chuyot by being next to Israel in their fighter jets. That the American pilots are next to Israel in their fighter jets. That's a tremendous chus for you. And I just want to say that America, I'll never forget, 9/11, the articles in the paper were, America now has joined history again. Okay? That's what it was, 9/11. I think his name was, forget his first name. He's a great lover of, what?
Crowdhammer?
Not Crowley, it was George Will. Okay? He said America's back into history because they thought they're immune from the Muslim radicals and the religious what do you call it?
Extremism.
Fanatics, right? They thought they're right, but America forgot. They were part of the biggest terrorist attack ever. Okay, Israel lost 1,200 in the terrorist attack. They lost 3,000. No, but the point is,
America don't remember that.
They don't remember that, right? And if you don't remember, you're going to repeat it. And we had something that was very, very important happened on last Thursday. One was the Reform synagogue that Baruch Hashem had such hashgacha that there were over 100 kids there, and they didn't get hurt, right? That was anti-Semitic. That was anti-Israel, okay? Anti-Jewish, anti-Israel. On the same day, there was something that was completely anti-American, had nothing to do with Israel. They say it's the Israel war and stuff like this. But 9/11, there was no war. It had nothing to do with Israel. So why doesn't America catch on over here? Why don't they chop what's going on over here? They want to put down America. And that's why he went into this, this cadet, where the cadets were, hearing that, listening to a class by a major army official. And of course, he was killed, unfortunately. And the boys understood. They're not just going to stand there. They killed the guy. Okay, it's not exactly clear how they killed him, but they killed him, right? The America has to understand on that day that we were given two messages, that the Arabs are out to get Israel and they're out to get America, okay? And that's what we have to understand. And we also have to understand that these happenings to us Jewish people all over the world, not just in America, all over the world, the amount of anti-Semitism, that is a message that we have to start coming home. That's a message that they have to start realizing. Of course, it has to be practical. I always say, we had a podcast, I said it has to be practical. And I said in the podcast, it has to be in the back of your mind. But it has to start flowing towards the front of your mind. If you can get here and be part of this great time, right? You should get here, right? Because God is definitely sending us a message that Israel is in the throes of a geula, in the throes of a redemption, and God is saying, you guys got to be part of it. And therefore, God is pushing us more and more away from our diaspora, wherever it may be, to Israel. And people have to be thinking more seriously today. When there's a war, a lot of people think, not too serious. No, this war is part of the geula. There's no question about it. In the Gemara, it says that atid, right? Atid paras lipol biyad romi. That's what it says. Malchus romi. It says.
Can you translate that?
What?
Translate that.
Okay. Tanya nami hachi. Atid paras shetipo biyad romi. Okay. Chade the satre be knishtav od gzeres hamelchi sheyiplu bonim biyad sotrim. Okay, the Gemara says that Persia is eventually going to fall into the hands of Rome, right? One, because even though they built our Beis Hamikdash, our second Beis Hamikdash was through Koresh, right? And Rome destroyed our second Beis Hamikdash, but he says post the Beis Hamikdash, they kept oppressing the Jews. Persia kept oppressing the Jews. For oh, Xeris Melachi sheyiplu bonim biatzotrim. It's a gzera. I don't know why, but that the bonim, the builders of the second Beis Hamikdash, will fall into the hands of the destroyers of the second Beis Hamikdash. Damer of Yehuda Marav ein ben David ba ad shetifshot malchus Romi tisha chadashim v'cholam kula. The Mashiach is not going to come until the spread of the kingdom of Rome will, for 9 months, spread itself all over the whole world. Okay? 9 months, there's nothing more simple than that's birth pangs, right? That's the birth pangs that the Jews are going to go through, Jews are going to feel, right? And, we always, I know the parents are very concerned that the kids won't come home for Pesach, right? In Israel, we all laugh about that because, like, compared to what we're going through, their kid won't be home for Pesach Nebuch. He'll have to Nebuch spend Pesach in Eretz Yisrael, in Chodesh HaAviv in Eretz Yisrael, and not in the snow, right? They have problems with that. The kids won't be home, right? The kids will be very well over here. They'll be having tremendous amount of simcha here. They'll be part of the Jewish people here, right? If you can't get them home, that the Hashgacha wants your kid as a schus to be in Eretz Yisrael for Pesach. That's a tremendous thing, right? So they shouldn't worry so much. We'll take good care of them, okay?
Okay, Rabbi and Rebbetzin, I could tell you that I think we could almost end the podcast right there because, of course, when we set out to record, I have no idea where this is going to go and where it's going to take us. But I feel now we've probably been going for about, I don't know, half an hour, maybe a little bit longer already. And I already feel like I have a totally different perspective than when we started out. So if that's all we do, thank you. But I do think that even with that incredible perspective and the chizuk that it certainly gave me on a personal level, we cannot diminish the fact that actually people here today are going through a really, really tough time. And I know you said this is birth pangs, it's hard. And that gave me a tremendous amount of validation. That being said, again, I mentioned it before. There are people that can't work. There are people that can't really handle their kids being home. It's tough. There are kids with special needs that are out of their routines and out of their educational, structures and are home with the parents. We have people that are alone. We have people that are living alone. It's very, very scary. We're getting woken up at night. These missiles that are coming towards us are not like, nothing, right? Thank God we have this unbelievable air defense system that seems to also have tremendous hashgacha.
And the miracles we live with every day.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Actually, I was going to mention before. I obviously don't know if this is true, but I heard that the same Iron Dome system that we have here is actually like only about 50% effective when it's installed in other places. And in Israel, we know that it's much more than 50%, effective. So clearly we have an extra force of Hashgacha Pratis that is here with us, the Siyata D'Shemaya of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we live with moment to moment. Okay, all true. Still, how can we help our listeners that are here in Eretz Yisrael, that are living in fear, that are struggling, that are exhausted? How can we give them some practical tips to help them to get through this time? And here is really where I wanted the Rebbetzin to be on the call with us, because we know that she always has wonderful words of wisdom to share.
Well, I tell you, I actually did a little poll among my kids who were, most of them, mommies of several kids, and I have been hearing from them all of these difficulties. I have to do work and the kids aren't on the Zoom, and the kids are under my feet, and I can't get anything done. And I think that there's a lot of different elements here, but I just wanted to focus on those mommies with the little kids at home, because I think in the long run, not having your daily routine is very discombobulating. And so you have to have a certain perspective on that also. And it's all very nice to say we're in Mashiach time and everything's good. It's just a day-to-day hard. So I'll just take a few minutes. I'll tell you my basic philosophy as a mother is that mother is the well. She's the be'er. Everybody's taking water from the well. If it depends on the family, but whoever is a mother knows that she's the center of everything, and everybody wants this from her and they want that from her. And it's the husband, it's the work, it's the children, it's the babies, it's the noise, it's the neighbor, whatever it is. And so I always told my girls, I tell my students also, the first thing you have to know is you cannot let your well run dry. And you have to take care of yourself. This is really hard when you don't have a minute to yourself. I actually I learned from the best. Like my grandmother, Zechrono Livracha, used to tell me, you eat first. You eat first. It was a big principle by her. You have to eat. Like, I know you're busy with it, you have to eat. And even if it's not exactly what you want, when you want it, you have to take care of yourself. You have to sleep. And my mother, Zechrono Livracha, she had another principle, which we grew up with, was don't bother me when I'm drinking my coffee. And we used to laugh about it, but it was an ironclad rule. If my mother was drinking coffee, you stayed away because you knew that it was not going to be good for you if you bothered her. And I always tell my kids there was a deep lesson that we learned from that. And mommies are people too. You're allowed to tell your kids, I am now having 5 minutes, leave me alone. You're allowed. So the first thing I tell the mommies is take care of yourself. Do not drive yourself into the ground. You have to also do things that fill up your well. If you need 5 minutes to read a book, if you need to talk to a friend and vent a little bit, if you need a coffee break with some quiet, you need to put those things into I understand you're surrounded by children and it's noisy and there's alarms. You need to fit that in somewhere, some self-care. And second thing I want to tell you is you have to do some self-talk. And I think these are things that are so general to me that I always emphasize them when I'm talking to young mothers. And it's interesting that this was a theme that kept coming out of my daughters. So I say, I guess maybe I got that message through, was be kind to yourself. You can't be kind to your children or to anyone else if you're not kind to yourself. If you're full of self-criticism, if you're full of self-doubt, if you kick yourself all the time, you're not going to be able to give anything to anyone else. So the self-talk is so important. I always feel like, women are very hard on themselves and they don't get always the support. You have to be your own cheerleader and you have to do the cheerleading for others. But first to yourself. There was some Lashon Hara I wanted to say, I didn't say it. Amazing wins. Celebrate your wins. Talk to yourself. I didn't yell at that kid, even though I'm gonna explode. Win and say, everybody ate. Everybody ate today. I fed everyone today. This is a win. Celebrate your wins, every small one. And you could teach that to your kids also. Look, you didn't hit your brother. This is a big win. You're really great. Your self-control. Celebrate the wins. Talk to yourself. Don't ever put yourself down, and don't put your kids down. Number 3. So that's number 1. Take care of yourself. Number 2, be positive. Be very positive with yourself and with your kids. And number 3, lower your expectations. Your kids are home. Your house is not going to be clean. Meals are not going to be gourmet, and Pesach is not going to be spring cleaning. You have to focus on what's urgent. Urgent is safety. If there's an alarm, you've got to get yourself someplace safe. Urgent is food. I'm really sorry. I'm a Jewish mother. You must feed your people. You must feed yourself. You can. That's urgent. After that comes everything else. It doesn't matter if your kids aren't in their school Zooms. Sorry to all the schools. It's if they like it and they're enjoying it, it keeps them busy, wonderful. Don't forget all spring cleaning. It's not happening. You got to do some basic laundry. You got to get rid of your chametz. make lower your expectations. Just my kids, this is one of my favorite Israeli words, lizrom, 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 lizrom. You're in a different situation now. The routine has to be different. One of my daughters said, give them a special amount of love in the morning and the evening because they need that security. Important. Just make your expectations more realistic. Okay. Number 5, I don't even know, I lost my numbers here. Number 1, self-care. Number 2, self-talk. Number 3, lower your expectations. And the next one, I guess this is number 4, make time to be with the kids. Look at it as a positive time. You can play with them when you never do. You can activate them to help you. And I know I was very bad at this. I never liked my kids in the kitchen. I made a big mistake with that because you teach them skills. I watched my 5-year-old granddaughter on Friday egging and breading schnitzel. I couldn't get over it. I could not get over it. And she was doing it with, and I said to my daughter, look, you're teaching her. She said, oh, she's doing this for years. I was laughing. They can really help. I've seen 2-year-olds wash dishes. It's a big mess, but you can activate them, give them jobs. It makes them feel good. And you're teaching them life skills. I know it's annoying, but it is a very, very good idea. And my last point, okay, and this is super, super important. You are in a situation where your anxiety, your feelings are telescoped. Immediately, your kids feel everything you feel. And I know it's hard. Some people are extra anxious. Some people are fearful. The alarms are terrifying. If you're outside, it's so loud. It's so scary. You must fake it until you make it. You must be calm. Otherwise, you will have kids wetting the bed. You will have kids pooping in strange places. All little kids, their anxiety comes right out in their diapers. You have to understand your situation is what it is now, and you have to be very matter of fact about it. Okay, it's an alarm. We're going to go in the mamad. We're going to go in the miklat. Okay, bring your drink with you. It has to be very, very matter of fact. And if your kids ask you about it, you tell them, we are in a situation where we have to take our precautions. We have to do our ishtadlus. We are in Hashem's hands, emuna and bitachon. And this is something you project the security to them. It will make you calmer. It will make them calmer. Super important to watch your own mood because your mood, like I said at the beginning, you are the well, you're the center. If you can keep yourself calm in these really trying times, you will have the benefit of your kids being calm, which is huge because you don't want them to come out with big traumas.
But
if you are working outside of the house, this is a whole different level. You have to, I'm sure that whoever your boss is, they have to understand you can only do a limited amount because you are, the kids are home. So this is some, practical tips for those mommies. Okay, I hope
But
that's
I
helpful.
really think you do have to add for the kids, even on a micro level, that even little kids, they have to know that what's going on, meaning that it's times of Mashiach and we're fighting and Baruch Hashem, we're winning and everything we go into.
Be careful not to frighten them.
That's not frightening.
Wait, it has to be age appropriate.
Right.
You cannot tell a 3-year-old Mashiach is coming.
No.
3-year-old, no, we have to
No, but I'm
go out to the
talking about
mamad, and we're gonna color in the mamad.
right.
You have to make
right.
it age appropriate.
But 6 and up, when a child's in school already, they understand, and I think that has to be told to them.
Right.
That if their brothers or their cousins or their uncles are in the army fighting, how proud they have to be, and how we're doing great things for Klal Yisrael. This is also part of Klal Yisrael, and they have to know that. Going into the shelter, they have to have tremendous pride that what we're doing here in Eretz Yisrael is really the picture of what God wants us to do, right? On the one hand, going into the shelter is like, to do your ishtadlus. On the other hand, to always have in your mind that big things are happening here. And we're moving much closer. We don't know what's going to happen. Moving much closer times of Mashiach. Kids want to hear that.
I have to also tell the children, and I think it's a really praiseworthy effort to tell them, and tell everybody that tefillah is the most important thing. If the kids go into the miklat, you can tell them, okay, now we're going to say our Perek Tehillim. You can teach them a pasuk if they're very little. And also I would send that out to all of our people in the diaspora. You should be davening for us. You don't perhaps understand what it's like to live with the sirens waking you up in the middle of the night, that not sleeping properly. The people who go back to sleep are lucky. Some people don't go back to sleep. To have little children home all day, every day, and then to have Pesach looming, you don't understand. But for sure, we need your tefillot. We need everybody's tefillot. And Bezrat Hashem. We'll be
Okay,
zochem to do
Rebbetzin, that
good
was a
things.
really good segue. So just to conclude in this sort of section of what we've been talking about, what I am hearing from you and what I'm really taking away from this is that really you said it in Hebrew, the word lizrom, which means to kind of go with the flow, right? It's like
Right,
it's a
exactly.
really go with the flow, and that expectations about what is, and we always make this mistake of saying like, well, I was supposed to be doing this or I was supposed to be doing that, but actually no, we really are supposed to be doing exactly what we are doing right in this moment and what we can do, and sometimes that looks very different from what we thought we were supposed to be doing. And I
My
think that
sister coined this phrase, my oldest sister. Life is what happens while you're busy making other plans.
exactly. And I think that we all can take that into our personal lives with whatever situation that we are in, whether it's with our jobs. I mean, I had all sorts of goals and plans for what I wanted to be doing right now, and they're not happening. I'll just, let all our listeners know that. And I'm sure that Pesach cleaning is going the same way for most people, and even sleeping and exercise and dieting and all the things that like we all wanted to be doing right now. The main thing is to be taking care of ourselves, our families, our friends, and to really make that our priority in whatever way that looks like. We're all going through the experience so differently. So when we can just shift our focus to our own personal well-being and the well-being of our loved ones and let go of just about everything else as much as we can, of course, then
Right.
I think that that hopefully will give us some modicum of comfort. And we're going now to move into another area of conversation that I really want to address before we end. So, Rabbi and Rebbetzin, I think both of you have done an amazing job of helping everybody to understand that we're going through tough times, even though they might be great times, and that for those of us that are in Israel, this is a tremendous chus, but nevertheless a very, very difficult and challenging chus, right?
Right.
Um, so we have many listeners that aren't here in Israel, many of whom I'm sure would love to be here in Israel with us, or at least would love to know how to connect to what we're going through, despite the fact that they're not here. And a lot of people, frankly, are very worried for their friends and for their family that are here. I know I have really special people that are checking in on me, and sometimes, they're calling me in tears, and I not even feeling the level of emotion that they are. So to all of my friends, you know who you are, and I really appreciate you. Um, but I will also share that there's been a number of articles that have come out in the last week or so, and I've seen things posted online and on people's WhatsApp statuses that are kind of indicating that there are those of us here in Israel that feel that to a certain extent our friends and family abroad are a little bit disconnected from what we are actually going through. And I think that people there know that to a certain extent we are resilient and we carry on here and we try to create normalcy for ourselves. And that is something that probably keeps all of us going, including the people that are there, helps them to worry less. But really, our lives are not normal, and they're not easy. And so, how can our friends, our listeners, our alumni that are outside of Israel, how can they see their role now? How can they feel connected to what's going on with Am Yisrael? How can they show support and love to those of us that are here right now in Israel? What does this look like when they're not here with us?
I wanted to say the most obvious thing is if you have people in Israel, connect. It's very hard. I think even of Chaim Shmulevitz said the people in Shalim don't understand what's going on in the north. You can't understand until you speak to people. So if you have friends or family in Israel, you should call them. I mean, it's nice to have a WhatsApp and how you doing, but like there's nothing like a real live phone call. How are you doing? What's happening? How's it going for you? Hear from them, listen to them. Don't try to offer platitudes. Just let them tell you how it's going so you could really feel with them. Imo anochi b'tzara. Be together with them and what they're feeling. And that will be the first step. First step is listen to your Israeli people.
I feel that the people in America need to get tools to feel what's going on. In other words, I'm not blaming them. They have their lives and stuff, and I'm sure they listen to the newsreels and talk about it, and they have friends who, like Esther said, they WhatsApp with them or email with them. I feel that, I'm going to just give you a mushal of, during the 73 war. So that's where Chaim Shmulevitz said that, when guys went back to Chutz La'aretz, he said, like, how are you going to be noseb olam chaveru? Us in Yerushalayim don't understand what's going on in the Golan Heights.
Noseb olam chaveru means bearing the burden with your friend.
Right.
It's a Torah concept of really feeling with someone,
and I think
way deeper than just
no, but I really feel that these people would like to do that in a way that they can. Let's be realistic. So Rav Gustman, I'm just going to give like a mushal. Rav Gustman, the guys in the yeshiva would say, like, we're learning for the soldiers. And Rav Gustman said, that's not noseb olam chaveru. Noseb olam chaveru is, did you get in pajamas last night? Yes. The soldiers did not get into pajamas last night. So don't get into pajamas. Sleep with your shoes on. Okay? Now, I'm not asking people in America, I'm just giving you as a mushal, like the guys wanted to know. So if Gustman said, if you want to really know, this is what you have to do. So we have to come up with ideas which I think the people in America are searching for, to like sort of feel, with the people in Israel. And for me, the most important thing is if you have a friend in Israel, a relative, feel with them, because that's so much more personal than just giving charity to an organization, which I think is great. But I really want to personalize, because noseb olam chaveru means that it's personalized. And therefore, if you have, you're all busy with Pesach cleaning in America. The women are busy with Pesach cleaning in America. Here, the women cannot do Pesach cleaning in here because there's too much going on. I would say that, the important thing is to stop your Pesach cleaning and make a call, like Esther said, to your friends. Well, I'm in the middle of Pesach cleaning. That's exactly the point. You're in the middle of Pesach cleaning. Now you want to feel with your friend. Stop your Pesach cleaning, because that's exactly what they did. And let's make that phone call and give them chizuk. That's as far as, taking up some time for that. Going beyond that is like doing something for the family. And of course, everyone is going to be different here. And again, I'm saying beyond the charity that we give to Israel and stuff like that, or even beyond the charity we give for the soldiers and help the soldiers, personal recognition and personal interaction, interpersonal relationship is very important here. And that's what I think a lot of the moms are feeling here, is that they're all alone, sometimes because their husbands are not there. And sometimes even if the husbands are there, they're not there because husbands are at work and the wives can't really work, right? So I'm going to make some suggestions. Let's say if you want to, everybody can figure out how to do this. If you want on a Thursday night to help your dear friend in, wherever they may be living, in Ra'anana or in Tel Aviv or in Yerushalayim somewhere, you could always order them dinner. You could order them sushi. You could order them pizza on a Thursday night, which, they have to make Shabbos. Shabbos doesn't just stand still, right? They have to make Shabbos, right? Or like, it could be that they need help, now, which they never needed before in the sense of cleaning for Pesach. So if someone does have the money to help them out cleaning for Pesach is now 200 shekel an hour, right? If they can give them, let's say, 3 hours worth of cleaning, right, for someone else to come in and do that.
It's not 200 shekel an hour, it's less, but okay.
Okay, but whatever it is, the most is 200 shekel an hour. No, oh, 1 second, I'm wrong. I'm saying it's really like 60 shekel an hour. It's 60 shekel. So 200 shekel could buy you like 3 hours of cleaning.
You can just ask your people, how can I help? Can I send you money for takeout food? Can I send you money for an ozeret? I really want to, help you in a practical way. What can I do for you? I saw some interesting initiatives. A woman was giving away Zoom art lessons for little kids who were sitting at home being bored. It was such a cute idea, that occupy them and give them something, a skill. And it was like free, just, if you're an Israeli kid, and between these ages, like sign on to this Zoom. There are many things you could do. You
right.
Could just,
there are many programs that they may know in America for the kids in Israel, right? That the kids can actually do in Israel online because the kids are having a lot of trouble. I spoke to many kids between the ages, I would say 6 and 14 or 15, even older, 16. They're having a lot of trouble being on Zoom with the teachers the whole day. So to give them some learning session that's really a lot of fun, like you can learn through art, you can learn through many different types of programs now online. They just need the ideas. The moms need the ideas because they're going nuts. So that's what they need. And maybe, you can order a toy for a child. There's, your friend as a child, 4 years old, and order a toy for the child so the child will have something new at home to keep them busy and stuff like that. There's so many different options, and that's really nosa ba'ol. When you send that toy or you send that, sushi, that's really feeling because you're with them. You're saying, I know what you're going through now, and I need to give you dinner, because I know you're not having it. Those are different methods of feeling, right? And that's what we really would like our American friends, our friends from the Chutz La'aretz, it could be England, the United States, Canada, I don't care, South Africa, whatever it may be, that, we want them being part of this, and they should want to be part of it. And that way you also get the schus of being part of this, which is a tremendous schus for Klal Yisrael and for the individuals going through this. They have tremendous schar for what they're going through right now to help the Jewish people. So if you want to be part of that, right, if you want to be part of it, there are ways to do that. Esther said very well, you just have to ask the moms, what do you need most right now?
I have another idea that you actually inspired me, Donna, when you said that people are davening for your son. I think every person who lives here knows someone who's in the army. And if you don't, you can get a name. Ask your friends for a specific name. It's a very big thing. This person I'm davening for, this soldier I'm davening for, or this wounded one, or one who's in Miluim, or whatever it is, davening. That's a huge thing to feel that people are davening for, your chayal, your chayal.
I would go one step further. I would say if you're davening for a certain chayal, you should call him when he's off and tell him you're davening for him. Find out who he is, get his WhatsApp. And obviously, when he's in the army, he's busy, but he gets that day off, call him and tell him, I'm davening for you right now. How you doing? How you feeling? How's it going? What are the stresses? Right?
That support of feeling that people care and that people are with you is a huge thing. That emotional support is a huge thing. And it has so many different aspects of it. You have to be a little creative and a little caring.
I want to just say something historical because it's best to know about experience. I spoke to a number of refuseniks from Russia, Joseph Mendelovich, and the more famous one is
Sharansky.
I spoke to both of them. Okay, Sharansky came to the yeshiva many years ago with the Chappelles.
And he was in the army with Yosef Mendelovich.
Right, I was in the army with Yosef Mendelovich.
Years ago.
Both of them said the same thing. The reason why they didn't give up, because they knew people in America were fighting for them. Mm-hmm. they weren't even talking about davening. They were saying they were protesting, and we knew they were protesting. They were helping us out, so we didn't give up. That's such an important idea that I learned from them. They're so far away, and you don't even know them, but they knew that there are people in Washington, D.C. demonstrating to get them out of jail, and that meant so much to them.
I
Oh,
think that what you're
on
saying
this
is,
note, we have an alarm.
oh,
You don't have it,
wow.
Donna?
I I am not getting an
You don't.
alarm. Okay, but listen, this is good for our listeners to understand that this is what
Any
happens
random
here,
time.
right? Oh, I think we might be getting one also. Just one second. Hello? Did we get an alert? Okay. 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 Thank you, honey. Bye bye. Okay, I'm not turning off
We
the
got it.
recording because this is exactly what happens. My son is
Right.
at the mall. He got an alert on his phone, so he had to call me and say, don't come looking for me. I'm at the mall. I'll go to the Miklat here if we get a
Yeah.
siren. Do you need to go to get ready to go to the Miklat? Because I
And
can.
I'm pretty ready already.
Okay. Okay. So let me just end things off. Okay. I'll end, and if anybody wants to have
If
one
there's a siren,
last word,
we
and
can,
if there's
yeah.
a siren, we'll end abruptly. Um, so I just want to say that after October 7th, the first time that I traveled to America, it was very difficult to leave Israel, and I was in Passaic, I think, and there was a woman that I didn't know, and she approached me and learned that I lived in Israel, and she said to me with so much sincerity in her voice, "I just want you to know that we daven for you so much from the bottom of our hearts." And she was so sincere that it was really the first time that I cried, actually,
Wow.
after October 7th, because that was like another soul really touching my soul in a very powerful way. So I think we know that people are davening and people care, but expressing it and connecting on a soul level with our friends and family, wherever we are. Look, we
Excellent.
know also that our friends in America and in England and around the world are going through very difficult times also. As soon as the thing happened in Detroit, you both know that I have a best friend in Detroit, and of course
Mhm.
that was my instinct also, was to reach out. Now it was my turn to reach out in that direction, and it makes all the difference in the world when we feel like we're not going through these very challenging times alone. It's really what gets us through it. I think we saw from the hostages also. We don't have to go back as far as the Refusnik history. We can look at the hostages where they said that the thing that kept them going was the few times that they would have glimpses of the TV or the radio, and they would hear that people were protesting for them and fighting for them. That's what gave them the strength to keep going. So I
Excellent.
think all of us as a community finding very creative and very real and authentic ways to actually not just daven for people, but to tell people that we're davening for them, to show it
Right.
with the suggestions that you gave. I'll just mention we have an alumna whose husband is in Miluim, was in Miluim many, many days over the last few years. She has a young baby. She was running up and down the stairs alone to her miklat, and it was Shabbos, and a friend of hers called and said, "I have now booked you a room in the Inbal for Shabbos. Go to the Inbal. You won't be alone. You won't have to make Shabbos." And they have a miklat right there of course, in the hotel. And that was, obviously, we're not expecting people to do things on that level, but I'm just sharing that as like an
Excellent.
example of really being no saba'ol im chavero. And
Right. Right.
the Shurins and I, if people want ideas about how to connect and how to be helpful, of course, we're always here to help with that. So I think, do you have anything else you want to add, Rebbetzin?
It just came into my mind that the Mishnah where Rabbi Akiva says, Chaviv Adam Sheni Rabbi, right? That we're beloved by God because we're created in his image. In other words, the extra affection is that God actually told us at the time the first time he said in the Chumash, it says we're created in God's image. That's just a statement. But later on, he tells Noah, you're created in my image. And Rabbi Akiva says that shows an extra level of affection by telling us, so that communication that you said, like the fact that she said to you, we're davening for you, and how it spoke to you. I think that people outside of Israel, or like you said, it goes both ways, reaching out to others and showing them, Imo Anochi B'Tzara, I'm with you, right? Right. It's a very, very, very big thing. And it's also important that Klal Yisrael are united. And that's a great zchut just by itself.
Well, thank you both, Rabbi and Rebbetzin, for sharing your perspective with all of us. I know that I gained tremendously from our conversation.
Great.
These are really not simple times. We've said it throughout this conversation that everybody is experiencing this period differently, but hearing your perspective and always your lived wisdom, because we know that you're not telling us to do anything that you're not doing yourselves, can help to ground us and remind us that we're part of something much larger than the moment that we're actually living through. So I will just say to our students, and our alumni, our community in Israel, and really throughout the world, we are thinking about you, and we together are praying for the safety and the strength of our entire community and all of Am Yisrael.
Amen. Am Yisrael Chai.
Amen. If you have a question for a future episode and you want to send it our way, you can email us at questions@darcheinoam.org. That's questions@darcheinoam.org. Rebbi, I Have a Question is a podcast from Chappelle's and Midreshet Rachel V'Chaya. See you next time.
Take care, guys.